Welcome back. We're going to continue on with using our Pokemon idea for working with inheritance, and we're going to have it so we can inherit from Squirtle now that already extends Pokemon, so we can have another level of inheritance. We can see that structure, so we can see how we get information from multiple levels that can go back up and refer to our base class and still get all those access to the components we're working with. So I already had a Pokemon Squirtle that inherited from Pokemon. We're going to have a subclass of Squirtle, so we can do it from that. So again, I'm just going to make a new file right here, and we're going to nuke file, and it's going to be called Wartortle, because that's the Pokemon that Squirtle evolves from. And the way we're using this inside the project is we want to have a reference to the idea of working with inheritance, and we're using the idea of evolution as that same reference we're working with. And so I have my public class Wartortle, but instead of extending Pokemon, we'll say that Wartortle extends Squirtle. So I still need to have my constructors that need to go along with that because I want to be able to specify the information appropriately. So I'm going to make my first constructor, and so it's going to be public, and it's going to be Wartortle, and no parameters. And that constructor is going to call super, and it's going to pass it as its first line. Again, you want to use the constructor call for your parent class as the first line of that. And I would pass it the number that Squirtle that it is, which is 8. And then its name, again, just using the string value of the class Wartortle. And so I have right here, excuse me, please. I have my super class right here where it's going to super constructor call. It's going to call super 8 Wartortle, which means it's going to go over here to Squirtle.java, and it's going to look for that same 2-parameter constructor where it takes an int and a string. And it goes to Squirtle, and oh, here's that Squirtle constructor. It takes an int and a string, and so it passes that on to its super constructor, which goes up here to Pokemon, which then initializes the pokedex number of the name, and solves the can evolve and health values appropriately. And so what that is doing then is we're using that same reference so I can pass that information up, because the super class here is only Squirtle. Wartortle has no idea that Pokemon exists, but Wartortle via Squirtle can get the same information from Pokemon because Wartortle is a Squirtle, is a Pokemon. So we can have that same sort of reference and a structured approach, and it allows us so I can save so much code and I can do lots of cool things as I go along with this. And so I have that same thing right here. And of course, because my Squirtle itself, it can evolve into that Wartortle, we're gonna go ahead and go over here in Squirtle, and we'll add a lovely little line right here. And so we'll say this dot set can evolve, and we'll pass it true. And so these lovely lines right here, we can evolve this for all of them. And this is a great thing we can do to have like a little helper method. There's a bunch of stuff we want to do. We can do a little setup method so we can go through and allow that to be evolvable even further. And so Squirtle can evolve. We have that lovely Wartortle class right here that it's evolving from. So Squirtle evolves into Wartortle, and we show that relationship because Wartortle extends Squirtle. So that's what it can evolve into. So we've got that cool little approach we can work with on that. And so I'd have those same 3 constructors by default because, again, I have another level of evolution that can happen inside Pokemon, so I want to have that same approach right here. So I'll make another constructor. I'll make the constructor that has a name. So I can name my Wartortle, say, for example, Spiky Boy or something like that because it's nice and fun. And so it takes a string name using that same structure we had earlier with Squirtle. And again, it's going to be the same super, parens 8. And then finally, in this case, I'll pass it the name parameter just like I did before inside my Squirtle class for that the 1-parameter one, where I take the name, but I still keep that same parameter for the Pokedex number. And then finally, my third addition, where I say public, and I do Wartortle. And I pass it, in this case, an int num, and a string name. And then again, I call super, and I pass it number and name. And so if I have my subclass of Blastoise that wants to inherit from Wartortle, if I want to do that further as well, I'd have my public class Blastoise extends Wartortle, and that we could call its superclass, which would come down here to the Wartortle, which would do super name, which would then go up to the Squirtle, which would do its number and name parameter, which we call super name, which will then go all the way up to here in Pokemon.java and then set that same information as well. So it's this great way I can actually go through and call those lovely references. I can build that structure up and go along from there. And that's how I can use the idea of inheritance so I can save code. I don't have to write getters or setters in any of these classes because they already have access to it. I can do everything I want to because it inherits it from that relationship. So Wartortle gets everything that Squirtle knows, Squirtle gets everything that Pokemon knows, and Pokemon already has the ability to call the get types, the get health, the is, can evolve, etc. All that information is already freely available inside the Pokemon class, and because all the public methods are shared, we have access to it all the way down the inheritance tree, and it's a really cool structure. We can do some amazing things. Take a look at some of the other videos in this inheritance sequence. You can do some cool stuff with it. Thanks again, cheers, and have a great day.